Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with I think it's the fourth video that I've done today. And I think the last one for the day. It's late, it's already 8:40 here in New York City, 8:40 p.m. And by the time I'm done recording and uploading and everything, it'll probably be around 10 something. So yeah, I think I'll be done for the day. But this is the fourth video of the day, but this is something that I've been wanting to get to this week, so I figured let me use today. So I saw this article from Game Biz Industry floating around, and I initially kind of ignored it, kind of got a synopsis of it, decided it wasn't really for me. But then I saw this tweet from Leanna, who, again, even though I'm not a member of her audience anymore and she might have a following, I still respect her opinion when it comes to video games. So I saw this tweet in my feed from her saying, ignore the headline chosen by a white dude and really listen to what Kulpreet Virdi is saying. It's a really positive message that the guy who wrote the article decided to undermine by isolating something that appears hostile out of context. So, in honor of her tweet and in what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But given her tweet, I decided, okay, let me go back and actually check out this article. I've now read it a good 2 or 3 times, so I think I'm pretty certain in how I feel about it. But I've gone through editing all the images, so I'll be covering the entire article, and I will be responding to it as I go through it. So according to Leanna, right, Miss Virdi actually has a positive message here, and that it's the author of the article who's undermining it by making it appear hostile out of context. So let's go and get the context. So here's the article itself from gamesindustry.biz, right, saying if you are still marketing to white cis males, you're alienating more than half your players. The presumed straight male player. Where have I heard this argument before? I think I've heard it from a certain Armenian woman who made a video series that kind of demeaned video games. But let me give the lady a chance. Alright, let me give Miss Kulpreet Virdi a chance here. So it says here, Assassin's Creed Sisterhood co-founder Kulpreet Virdi on the importance of putting defined female characters in the spotlight. And the author of this is James Batchelor, the UK editor. As you can see, it's from February 25th of this year, so only a few days ago, 2 days ago. Alright, so here's what it says. Women don't sell video games. That's one of the attitudes allegedly expressed by Ubisoft's marketing department and management on 2018's Assassin's Creed Odyssey, mandating the game needed a playable male as an alternative to Cassandra. But Kulpreet Virdi, founder of the fan movement Assassin's Creed Sisterhood, is urging games firms to move beyond this outdated perception. And she believes the way new releases are promoted is crucial. Okay, well, here's the first thing. We don't even know the context of how this was stated or who said it. It just says here, expressed by Ubisoft's marketing department and management regarding Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't have any content or context beyond this. Number one. Number two, even if you want to assume the worst, just because the marketing and management department of Ubisoft feels this way does not mean that gaming as a whole or that other video game making companies like Sony, Nintendo, BioWare, EA, so on and so forth feel this way. Right? I would not take the unwanted or opinion of one or a few people in one company and suddenly label it as, a industry-wide problem. Right? But she says, it's a really backwards way of thinking, she says. When you market your game to men, you're ultimately ostracizing 50% of your player base. There's a misconception that women just want to play cutesy games like Stardew Valley, The Sims, and Animal Crossing. That just needs to go away. The player base has changed. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Miss Virdi. There is this thing called marketing data and demographics. Generally speaking, a lot of the AAA titles that you see are action titles, right? They have a lot of violence. So for most of those type of games, their main player base is going to be male. So they're going to market more toward men. Games like Animal Crossing, The Sims, and whatnot skew a bit more toward women. I think their player base is a bit more balanced, right? But naturally, in those type of games, they're going to appeal more to, say, families or to women, generally speaking, right? Not, how do I put it? The majority of women are interested in video games are not going to be playing games like, say, Call of Duty, right? Not their thing. Now, of course, there are some women who play Call of Duty, and that's great. Or there are some women who play Assassin's Creed, including apparently Miss Virdi herself, and that's fine. But you're not in the majority. You're not even at half, and that is simply the way it is, right? There are demographics. People make choices. It's just like, for example, with romance novels, right? Romance novels are principally written for women by women, right? Other types of novels are written more for men. That's fine, right? You have a few women like, say, J.K. Rowling, right, who can write something that appeals to males and females and becomes this huge thing. But you have to keep demographics in mind, because you have to sell this item. If you're making something where your general audience is going to be young men, you market to young men. If you're making something where your audience is going to be more families or more females, you market it to them. It's that simple. And unless you can provide some data or some stats, I don't believe you when you say that you're ultimately ostracizing 50% of your player base. Whoever is interested in the game will be interested in that game. I played Metal Gear Solid and played several of the titles for several years because I was interested in the game. I did not care whether or not it was marketed toward men, women, cats, or anything else. I played it because I was interested. Okay? I was interested. Same way I play video games because Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or anything else, because I am interested, not because it is marketed to me. All I need is for the game to be available. And given that I read, a lot of gaming magazines growing up, I was pretty aware of, what was coming out and when and what it was all about. It's kind of what happens when you grow up playing video games and you get really, really, really enmeshed in it. But anyway, she adds, it's this vicious circle we really need to break. And there have been games that have broken that circle, like Horizon Zero Dawn and the Tomb Raider series, The Last of Us with Ellie and Abby front and center. I think she should highlight how controversial that game is, but okay. The problem is there's just a general lack of marketing campaigns that focus on women. Oh, really? Again, you provide no proof. And the marketing campaigns that focus on men tend to do really well because they've got the budget and the support behind them. So if a video game features a female character and they have the budget and the support, right? We're talking about AAA titles, right? She's listing Horizon Zero Dawn, the Tomb Raider games, The Last of Us, big name mainstream video games, right? If they've already gone through all the trouble to put a female protagonist and get a female voice actor and get women to do various roles, for example, all of the mocap and all that stuff these days, why wouldn't they, if they have the budget and the support, put all of that, why wouldn't they put the marketing machine behind the woman if they've already decided to go with a female protagonist? Generally speaking, you want to promote the hero, right, the protag of your story. So why wouldn't they put their attention and their money and their marketing prowess and all that behind a female protag? You see, you state something that creates a question, but you provide no answer. Verdi founded AC Sisterhood back in July. I'm assuming he means July of last year. Amid the slew of accusations concerning abuse, harassment, and toxic attitudes at Ubisoft, including the notion that female protagonists don't sell video games. Okay? A longtime fan of the Assassin's Creed series, the IP and commercial lawyer dedicated her spare time to creating a safe space for women to talk about the games and other aspects of the hobby without being attacked as often occurs on social media. This sounds like code for she created a safe space where people who are critical of her viewpoints cannot talk to her or to people in this little group of hers. Again, sounds like a certain Armenian who made a video series about women in video games once said, and you know how that said Armenian woman closes down the comment sections of her videos because she doesn't want people to be able to actually challenge her assertions in the public space. Maybe I'm just being harsh, but again, that's what it reminds me of. Verdi describes the sisterhood as an empowerment movement, centered around a heavily vetted Discord server, with a Sisterhood Speaks podcast, highlighting the work of the many talented women employed at Ubisoft. The group's mission is positively challenge the publisher to convey we see what you're doing and we expect better. Okay, I have my concerns about this empowerment movement and heavily vetted Discord, but okay. If what's being alleged in this article about Ubisoft is true, I will admit I'm a bit behind on my gaming news, and Ubisoft isn't a company I'm terribly familiar with or follow. But if it's true, then yeah, I would imagine that many people in the fandom, right, who like Ubisoft's games, would want them to do better if they sincerely believe that a female protag cannot sell a video game. Again, look at Metroid, look at Bayonetta, look at Tomb Raider. Obviously, it can work. Ubisoft has acknowledged and supported the movement in various ways since its creation, even including the group's logo in Assassin's Creed Valhalla as a tattoo option for Eivor? I don't know how you say it. And referencing a sisterhood of female assassins via in-game text, but Verdi hopes to see more. They've acknowledged that we're here, and I hope that translates to tangible change in the future. In the future, she says. One moment, I gotta take a sip of water. Excuse me. We're not expecting things to change straight away because things like this never do. Okay, that's a reasonable expectation. But it's about getting more awareness around the topic. She continues, I've always wanted to see an Assassin's Creed game where the woman is in the lead, not a diminished or supporting role. Stop right there. I have no issue personally with an Assassin's Creed game that stars a woman. I think that would be interesting to have a mainstream title that where the woman is the lead protag, right? I think that's a fine idea if they can make it work, right? Because if you float that idea and then it fails, you make it look even worse because it was a female protagonist. So I think they need to be careful. But I'm not against the idea. Same way I'm not against the idea of a female lead character, protag character for GTA 6. All I ask is that she be done well, that she's an interesting character and not just the girl, right? But here's the thing. She says that she wants an Assassin's Creed game where the woman is in the lead and not a diminished or supporting role. Why, Miss Verdi, are you automatically assuming that if a female character is not the lead character, that she's automatically diminished, right? That she's just a supporting role. right? That'd be like arguing that the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3 was a diminished character because she wasn't the playable character, right? She wasn't the protag, she wasn't the player character because the story is told through the eyes of, at the time, Naked Snake, the man who would eventually become Big Boss, right? And she serves as a mentor figure and a support character. And then later on, she is literally the final boss of the game. Anybody who knows anything about Metal Gear Solid knows that the whole saga of Big Boss is more or less just two men fighting over how to best honor the boss's legacy. So she was a huge factor in the game world in a broader sense. She was never treated in a diminished role just because she was not the protagonist. So why do you automatically assume that a woman not being the protag automatically means she is diminished in some fashion? I don't understand this point of view. Seeing everything that happened, I decided to speak up and do something about it. To say that this needs to change, because if no one does that, nothing will change. You need to challenge the status quo. Okay, I'm all for challenging the status quo, but which status quo, dear Lord, which status quo is being challenged here? If AAA put women in their marketing and their games, it sends a strong message that women belong in this industry. While the Sisterhood has been using its channels to highlight some of the female protagonists already seen in the series, it's a good idea, that's fine. It notes that there is still yet to be a mainline Assassin's Creed game with a woman as the sole lead. Okay. The majority of the characters have been reserved for smaller projects. Aveline only features in the PlayStation Vita spin-off Liberation, while Xiaojun, is that how you say it? Is constrained to 2D spin-off Assassin's Creed Chronicles China. Even Origins, Aya, and Syndicate's Evie Frey, or Fry, Evie Fry, are only playable for select sections of their games. And again, it would be interesting, but you've got to also make it worthwhile, because guess what? This woman advocating for a female protagonist would complain until the cows come home, right? If they made a Assassin's Creed game with a singular female protagonist, and that protagonist was not a popular character and was not received well. Okay, so I think she needs to be careful, because again, if you get this wrong, you're gonna make it that much more difficult to put a female protag in the front of this male-oriented action game for a real long time. Virdi points to the missed potential with many of these. Aveline demonstrates that new mechanics and narrative avenues can be unlocked by focusing on a female protagonist. The Black Assassin can disguise herself as a slave to enter in unnoticed, or as a noble lady to flirt with guards in order to lure them away from their posts. Okay, that's nice, but those are gameplay functions, and that's nothing new. Plenty of video games that have featured playable women, right? Such as, for example, fighting games, right? Or the type of beat 'em up games that I grew up with, like Golden Axe or Streets of Rage, right? They would give the women different skills, right? And different abilities. For example, in Golden Axe, Tyrus Flare was the only one who could summon a dragon, right? And she was also the one who was the fastest on her feet. Same way with, Blaze in the Streets of Rage games, right? What she lacks in strength, she makes up for in speed. And she had a lot of abilities and throws and techniques that the other two characters, whether it was Axel or Max or Skade or Adam or whatnot, did not have. So this idea of female characters having different traits or skills is nothing new. There's only positive things that can come out of exploring a character who's a woman who's from a different background, Virdi says. I agree with this statement, but only again if they do it right. Only if they do it right and the character is well received. Otherwise, again, it's just going to make it that much harder to create a video game with a female protagonist, because it is such a hot button, hot topic issue now. When I'm not going to say it was never a hot topic, hot button issue back in the day, but I think definitely now with this hyper focus, right? Whatever questions about it existed 20, 30 years ago, it's like really focused on it now. So it's like everybody's waiting to see whether whether it soars or whether it sinks, right? Whether it succeeds or if it fails, because everybody's got some sort of investment in this, right? Those like this lady, Miss Virdi, who want that, need it to work, and then the others who, let's if they're telling the truth about Ubisoft, who say, women, or rather female protags can't sell a game, well then naturally they want the game to fail. So you've got two sides who are deeply vested in two entirely different outcomes, and everybody's watching with bated breath, right? So be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you wish for is basically it, right? So she says you get a different experience than you would when you play from a white male's perspective. Okay, okay. She's ticking me off here. I will admit, I am not terribly familiar with Assassin's Creed, but my brother did play the earlier games when he was still living at home. If I remember correctly, isn't the first guy, what's his name, Altair or whatever, a Middle Eastern man who's like half Muslim or half Arabic, and he's half Christian or something like that? And then you had the several games that featured the Italian playboy guy, and then the one after that, I think, the third one in like colonial America, wasn't the protagonist of that one a Native American man, and like his like mentor father figure was like a black slave or something? Again, it's been a very long time, and I never paid all that much attention, but I think that's what happened. So what are you talking about with this white male perspective? The only white male was the Italian dude. So again, what are you talking about when Assassin's Creed takes place in different points in history and in different countries? So what do you mean this whole white male perspective? Some of the most enduring video games and video game franchises come from Japan. I am so sick and tired of this argument coming up, and nobody acknowledges the fact that modern video games started in Japan. Gamers do want a more diverse experience when you're playing these games, because you're going to explore narratives and themes that you might not if the character is the default white cis male. Again, she's sounding like a certain Armenian woman who I do not like. Leanna? I think you misled me. Aya from Origins is another prime example. The game focuses entirely on male hero Bayek. Didn't Origins take place in Egypt? So again, what's the whole idea of the white man? But anyway, the game focuses entirely on male hero Bayek's quest for revenge after the murder of their son. And while it's important to not undermine the importance of having a black man, he's Egyptian. That's not the same as a black American man, but okay. The importance of having a black man as the lead of a AAA video game, Aya is still underserved by the lack of interactions between her and the son. Oh, the poor boy doesn't even have a name? That's nice. Her playable sections are primarily a way to get the fan-favorite naval battles into Origins, rather than an exploration of how a mother copes with the loss of their child. That narrative is entirely absent. I'm not entirely sure I can take her account of this on face value. I'm not too familiar with Origins, but again, you just said that the game focuses on a male hero in a male narrative. So again, why would there be focus on the maternal bond when it's all about a father getting revenge for the murder of his son? Take, for example, the God of War games, right? as the series went on, it became more of this dad tale, right? Many people have noted that. I think even in what the fourth game or whatever it was, right? That the tale of Kratos, right, and his child, right, was very much this fatherly tale, right? A father and a son learning how to live without the wife and the mother and all this stuff. So yeah, if they've already have it set that okay, we're gonna be telling this narrative of a father and son, right? Right. If they're gonna go, okay, we're basically doing Lone Wolf and Cub as a video game, then yeah, I don't expect too much focus on the maternal when it's all paternal, right? Where that's the focus, the father and his loss, not hers. Again, you just said the game is not about her, the game is about him. So why would it focus on her? That was something that game really missed, and a lot of fans, including myself, wanted to see more. Who are this lot of fans? Like, you got some tweets or something? Says Verdi, you saw the paternal bond, but not the maternal bond. Again, because the point of the story is that it's coming from a man's perspective. You wouldn't see the maternal bond because the maternal bond is not the focus. Granted, the last two major Assassin's Creed titles have allowed you to play as a woman throughout the whole experience. Cassandra in Odyssey, and a female version of Eivor in Valhalla. But while Cassandra is canonically the hero of Odyssey, at least according to the novelization, oh yes, everything needs a supporting novel, comic book these days, her brother Alexios was the game's cover star. And you still haven't given me a reason to care. I personally didn't like the fact that, at least to my knowledge, Cassandra was supposed to be a Spartan, because Spartan women did not fight. That wasn't part of their culture. Spartan women encouraged their men to fight, right? They're the ones who had the phrase, you come back with this shield or on it, right? So they were very much believers in going out fighting, right? Dying in battle, right? If you came back, if you ran home, right, a mother had the right to kill you because you had dishonored the family and the country, right? And Spartan women, for example, if their son or their husband or whatever died in war, they at least they claim, that they would not mourn, that they would actually feel pride and joy because that meant that this man that they had raised, that they had loved, died in their culture honorably. Now it's true that female women learned how to wrestle and fight to a degree and all that, and they were very focused on physical health because Spartan culture uh, was under the belief that healthy men, healthy women, strong men would make strong sons. But still, while the women may have been the cheerleaders, right, and the supporters of the warrior culture, they did not participate in it. They didn't go to war. So I don't understand why Cassandra had to be a Spartan when she just could have been an Amazon, and everybody would have accepted that. But that's just me. RJ, make up your mind here. Use in or you out, cat. Right? Then it says, similarly, Valhalla was unveiled with male Eivor, or Ivor, how do you say this? Front. Front and center. RJ distracted me. Okay. Now I gotta start all over again. Similarly, Valhalla was unveiled with male Eivor, front and center. The first sign of female Eivor's existence was an image of the special edition, in which she is included as a collectible statue. This leads us to Verdi's main point. It's not enough to have female characters in your game; they need to be in your marketing as well. In this regard, Ubisoft somewhat addressed this by releasing two versions of Valhalla cinematic trailer, one for each gender. That was incredible, says Verdi. It was the same trailer, but just with female Eivor in place of the male one. Okay, wait a minute. You were just talking about how having a female playable character would provide a different experience because you get a different narrative, a different perspective, different skills, all this different stuff. And now you want to say that this trailer was incredible because it's the same trailer but with the female Eivor in place of the male one? Honey, what do you want here? Because from my perspective, you have a problem if you're saying that, oh, the game will be different if you have a woman and it's written from the female perspective, right? And it's a woman's hero's journey, the heroine's journey, I guess you could say, and all that, which is fine. I'm not against that, but you're saying that it'll be different, and the fact that it's different is what will make it good. But then you say that this trailer was incredible because it's the same trailer, but with the female instead of the male. So which one is it here? It shouldn't be the same trailer if the whole idea is that playing as a woman will give you an entirely different experience. So I'm lost here. Honestly, I'm lost. I don't get it. It was the same trailer, but just with female Eivor in place of the male one that produced so many positive comments from women in the community. You mean your community or the general Assassin's Creed Valhalla community? Which one do you mean? I remember feeling overjoyed seeing a woman I can identify with. You identify as a Viking? Are you descendant of Vikings? Are you Norse? Is that cultural appropriation? I remember feeling overjoyed seeing a woman I can identify with as the focus of the trailer. I can't even tell you how empowering that felt. As if female action heroes have never existed. Oh my, somebody call Samus Aran and tell her that she hasn't been around since 1986. Someone call Lara Croft and tell her she hasn't been around since 1995. Somebody call Tyrus Flair and tell her she hasn't been around since 1989. I mean, this is the first time we've ever seen a female action hero. I mean, oh my god, what about Terminator 2? Somebody tell Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor that totally didn't happen in 1992. And the reason I mention that is because Terminator became a video game. But anyway, I mean, I had no idea that these figures never existed until Eivor in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Right? There's only positive things that can come out of exploring exploring a character who's a woman from a different background. Again, I agree with that. That's fine to me. But now you're saying that the trailer's the same. You want different and you want the same at the same time. You are confusing me here, lady. Companies need to understand how people feel when they see themselves represented properly. You're not a Norse warrior! What are you talking about? And in an authentic way. It's such an amazing feeling, and if they're making their players feel that way, that's great. In the past, publishers have solved the box art issue by offering reversible covers. But both Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla allow fans of the female hero, be the term heroine, to flip the cover slip, but the male character is still the default on the front. Again, you haven't explained to me why this is a huge issue. In the case of Valhalla, Virdi tells us the community was calling for both to be on the cover, especially as the narrative canonically alternates between the two. Okay, that would make sense. I would prefer that. I remember the cover art for like Streets of Rage 2, and that had the main characters on the cover. So I would agree with that. It's all well and good saying they are equal, but if the marketing doesn't reflect that, it's not going to send out a good message. She says, honey, I'm not sure you know which message you want sent out. It's not just Assassin's Creed, of course. Many AAA franchises face these issues. The original Mass Effect trilogy saw fans call for the female Shepard to get more time in the spotlight. Where I didn't see that. Sure, there are some fans who want her sort of as the face of the game, and that's fine. I personally enjoy the game more as Femme Shep, but that's because, no offense to Mark Meir, but for me, hearing Jennifer Hale and being able to play as this, like, tomboy commander just made more sense to me than playing as the man in that case. But I have no issue with the male commander Shepard being the sort of face of the game. Like the whole thing about Mass Effect anyway is that you can make Shepard look however you want to. Right? So I'm not bothered by it. Besides, the male Shep is handsome. Why am I gonna complain? Right? But it says here, it's not just Assassin's Creed, of course. Many AAA franchises face these issues. The original Mass Effect trilogy saw fans call for the female Shepard to get more time in the spotlight, but beyond another reversible cover, the focus was almost always on her male counterpart. And you still haven't provided a good reason as to why that was a bad thing. However, EA addressed this with the recent Legendary Edition trailer, which focused only on the female version of the hero, who is largely interchangeable with the male version. So again, what's your point? The Mass Effect fans have been rallying for years for more representation on FemShep, so to have a trailer focused on her was amazing, says Virdi. Watching the video of Jennifer Hale reacting made me cry. This is how we want people to feel. But again, I like FemShep. Part of that reason is because of Jennifer Hale's voice work. But the whole point of Shepard as a character is that Shepard is ultimately you. You imprint yourself onto Shepard. You give Shepard the background you want, the look you want. You decide which moral choices, right, Paragon or Renegade, Shepard is going to take. Shepard's not a traditional lead character, right, who's this fully developed character and idea and who does things and has certain viewpoints and qualities that are independent of the player, right? It's not like, say, Nathan Drake or Lara Croft or any other characters where they are distinct individual people and the player's opinions or viewpoints or morals have nothing to do with how the game is played. It doesn't work like that. Mass Effect is all about customization because it's ultimately all about the player. It's ultimately all about the player, not the character. Shepard can be whatever you want Shepard to be. That's the point. Virdi goes on to praise BioWare and EA for handling the studio's other big franchise, Dragon Age. The most recent outing, 2014's Inquisition, featured cover art with a gender-neutral hero. Another alternative. What is a gender-neutral? Okay, I don't get that. First of all, using the word hero, which is masculine, and then you say it's gender-neutral. I'm confused. Another alternative to focusing on the man when marketing. I don't understand that sentence at all. But anyway, it's all well and good saying they are equal, but if the marketing doesn't reflect that, it's not going to send a good message. But there's a systemic issue at play here too. The lack of female protagonists. Here we go again. While an annual analysis shows this is improving, defined female characters are still a minority when it comes to games protagonists. If there aren't women to include in the marketing, how can the way games are promoted improve? There are women in video games. There are plenty of women in video games. Plenty of female protagonists. And when the game is solely about her and she's the only protag, then yes, the marketing focuses on her. You know what the problem is? People like Miss Virdi complain to high heaven if the marketing in any way employs the sex sells idea. Again, Lara Croft. This Tomb Raider is a video game series that has been around for 20 plus years, and yet, whenever her name comes up, right, the first thing that the Anita types point to is that, oh, she has large breasts. Oh, she's attractive. Oh, she's hypersexualized. Oh, the marketing did her dirty. And no matter how many times people, male or female, right, push back against this, Leanna Case pushed back against this, Melanie Mack is probably the biggest Lara defender on Twitter, right? Still, this idea of, oh, the marketing did her so dirty persists. Because guess what? The marketing emphasized the fact that she's cool and she's attractive and she's fun. But all the Anita types want to see is, oh no, attractive woman with a large chest. Sexism! So what do you want a marketing company to do then? If every time they try to market a female character, they get unfair pushback and criticism. What do you want them to do? That phrase, defined female character, is also important. While many games give players the option of playing as either a man or a woman, as soon as the choice is presented, it diminishes the woman to just that, an option. But doesn't that also diminish the man to an option? Aren't they both diminished then? Your argument makes no sense. For me, it shows you're not prepared to commit to a female character, says Virdi. I think companies rely on the male version to be their backup for men who don't want to play as women, and that's unfortunate because then the narrative is the same. But again, how do you know that men don't want to play as women? How do you know this? Have you spoken to every man who's ever played a female-led video game? Have they all told you that they hated it because it had a woman instead of a guy? Because the response I tend to see online and the response from the men I've known over the years, they don't dislike playing as women. They may dislike playing as a badly developed character who happens to be a woman. They dislike that. Or they may dislike take for example Metroid Other M, right? That game got a huge backlash from the Metroid fans, who many of which are male, right? But what they were upset about with that game was that they felt, in their opinion, that the game's narrative wrecked Samus's established character. That's what they were upset about. They saw her being more emotional and sort of like emotionally conflicted and everything as a portrayal of who the character had been established to be up to that point. So again, what are you talking about when you say that men don't want to play as women? I think men just don't want to play as bad characters. I don't think there are too many men who are going to be opposed to playing as a cool and oftentimes very sexy and attractive woman. I just don't see that happening. And again, you don't provide any proof that what you say is true. Sometimes you're playing these games and the character will say something that seems really weird if you're playing as a certain gender. It doesn't work, and sometimes it can break the narrative. It's a better approach to focus on one and really concentrate on their character development, their story, and make sure the representation is authentic and sensitive. So really, what Miss Virdi is after is simply removing the option of having a male protagonist. And here's the thing. If that works for the game, I think that's fine. If it's better to have a female protag for the game, like say Bayonetta, Tomb Raider, right, Metroid, it's fine. Okay, cool. If it's better to have a male protag, like say the Uncharted games or Metal Gear Solid, that's fine too. I have no issue with that. And if it makes sense to have an interchangeable or optional protag, right, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, games like that, that's fine too. The protagonist should be whatever best serves the video game, not whatever best serves some agenda. And that's what I'm hearing and reading here. Agenda. I do not like agenda. The only agenda that should be is make good video game and make money from it. Those are the only two agendas that a games company should have. And then this idea of concentrate on their character development, their story, and make sure the representation is authentic and sensitive. Okay, I agree with that, but here's the problem. What exactly is authentic and sensitive? Look, for example, at female Shep here. What is authentic and sensitive in her case? She's a female space commando. She's a military woman. So what is authentic and sensitive in her case? There is no one way to have a female protag, have a female character in a video game. FemShep works because she's written for the Mass Effect games. If you take FemShep and you put her in Super Mario, we're going to have a problem here. There are different types of female characters depending on the needs of the game and the franchise they are a part of. So if you're going to use vague terms like authentic and sensitive, please tell me exactly what in fudge you are talking about. It wasn't until Mass Effect 3 that the woman Shepard was included in the marketing, and even then it was a reversible box cover. The emphasis here is on authenticity. Again, what the hell does that mean? Women should be depicted as respectfully as male characters are. They are, rather than being positioned as the hypersexualized digital pinups of the past. And here we go again. Woman cannot be attractive. If she's attractive, then she's reduced to a sex object, right? Then she's simply a digital pinup girl. Maybe the issue here is not gamers. Maybe the issue here is you, Miss Virdi. Doing so only ends up marketing these women to a male audience. And again, we have the erasure of women. Because it's as if only women could enjoy the hypersexualized. Oftentimes it's more hyper-feminized than sexualized, but the hypersexualized pinups, only men would enjoy that. It's not like bisexual women exist, or lesbians exist, or pansexuals, or even straight women who, while not sexually attractive, can appreciate another woman's aesthetic beauty. Apparently, we don't exist. Females don't exist, right? It's totally men, and it's totally men's fault. Got it. Got it, honey. Got it. Virdi is also keen to see female characters presented in a way that highlights their uniqueness and in ways that are distinct from men. First you want different, then you want same, and now you want different again. Make up your mind. Women in video games don't always have to be the equivalent to a man. I agree, and most of the time they're not. She says, they don't have to be a superwoman. They can show their vulnerabilities in the same way you can show those of men. I don't know too many male characters in video games who show their vulnerabilities. Plus, it's a video game. Video games are by nature about being over the top. Even in a video game like, say, Street Fighter, right? Guess what? Many women like Chun-Li or Cammy, right, or Rose, or other types of female characters, like Makoto, Sakura, Karin, and many others don't exist really in the real world, generally speaking. You're not gonna find too many teenage girls obsessed with martial arts because they want to impress their much older male crush. Hell, that would get a man in trouble these days, just because the girl is interested in them. None of these characters are meant to be normal. That's the point of the video game and the character. They're not normal. That's what makes it fun. If I wanted normal, well, I could just look at my own life, and that's not fun. Look at Ellie and the way she is in the Last of Us games. There is her exterior toughness, but also her vulnerabilities as well. As a woman, you relate to that because you're not taking what's traditionally expected from a man and putting a woman's skin on it. Honey, did you not see The Last of Us Part 2? Her father figure is brutally murdered right in front of her. She swears vengeance. She goes completely over the pale, becomes completely villainous, kills everybody in her wake, right? In her descent to villainy, only to for some reason spare the woman who ruined her life at the end. And guess what? The woman that Ellie was in a relationship with leaves her and she ends up alone, right? Having lost everything she ever cared about. That's a revenge tale. That is most definitely a man's story. It's not exclusively one, but it's definitely one that has been told plenty of times with a male lead. Have you ever read Punisher? Have you ever seen Punisher? Have you ever seen Death Wish? So yes, they actually did take a man's story and put a woman's skin on it. Again, what in fudge are you talking about? What in fudge are you talking about? It's actually going deeper than that and exploring authentic something. The stupid arrow thing is blocking it. Authentic, I can't tell what that word is. How women would, or probably authentic emotions. Okay. How women would react in that situation. So you're saying that every woman would want to seek vengeance? Every woman would react that way if put in Ellie's place? Really? You're able to read every woman's mind and determine that every single female would be out for blood? Really? Really? Virdi believes that it is important for developers and publishers across the board to focus more on diverse protagonists. What she means is not white and probably not Asian, both in games and in marketing. But AAA firms have the power to make a more positive impact on the industry by doing so. If you're a AAA publisher and you're still marketing your games in a manner that's aimed at at white cis males. And again, there she goes again with the erasure of women and POCs. She's erasing me again. That's not nice. You're not marketing to more than half of your player base, she says. You can end up alienating them, and they're going to end up walking away. No, they're not. What drives people away are negative, offensive responses from the companies, delays, feeling lied to, feeling betrayed, having to pay too much for a glitchy game, looking at you, Cyberpunk, being told that they don't know their history when they call out the fact that British women did not fight on the front lines in World War II, looking at you, Battlefield 5. That's what pushes fans away, not marketing towards certain demographics or lack thereof. Personally, I think if AAA put women in their marketing and in their games, they already do. It sends a strong message that women belong in this industry. We've been known that they are here to play games and here to stay. Been known that and been known that. Hopefully, that would help alleviate the toxic culture. Here we go again. Around women in games and games communities. There isn't a toxic culture, okay? At least no more so than gaming's ever been. Games are competitive and there's going to be trash talking, right? If somebody's problematic, don't engage with them, report them. If someone's being a jackass, beat them at their own game and move on with your life. Publishers should be doing more to address harassment. Well, first of all, you have to define harassment, right? Define what it is and what it isn't and make that definition clear and understood to everybody. Then you need to establish a set of rules and penalties, and then you need to apply that evenly, right? And if they highlight their women more in a positive way, that is a strong message to send out. I'm all for highlighting women in a positive light. I'm all for highlighting men in a positive light. I'm all for highlighting people in a positive light. But your article doesn't do that. Your article is confusing me because I don't know what in fudge you want. Now here's the thing. I compiled this quick little list of 20 video games that have female protagonists. Most of these video games are not, I repeat, are not mentioned in the article that I just finished reading. Right, so let's go over it. Metroid, Samus Aran, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, Bayonetta, Golden Axe, Beast Rider, Tyrus Flare, Horizon Zero Dawn, Alloy, Perfect Dark, Joanna Dark, Fear Effect, Hannah. To be fair, Fear Effect does have multiple characters to play as. I wanted to be clear about that. The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie and Abby, Mirror's Edge, Faith Connors, Blood Rain, Dino Crisis, Regina, Final Fantasy X-2, Yuna, Riku, Pain, Final Fantasy 13, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13, Lightning, Princess Toadstool's Castle, Princess Peach, aka Toadstool, Super Princess Peach / Toadstool, the various Resident Evil games, right? In particular, ones featuring Jill Valentine. So like Resident Evil 3, right? Silent Hill 3, Heather Mason, Parasite Eve, Aya Bria, Battlefield 5, Soul Bank, right? The majority of these games were not mentioned by Miss Virdi. And quite frankly, I am tired of these articles and I am tired of this stupid conversation. I am tired of this false narrative that Anita version 2 is pointing out here. Until she can list these video games, I don't want to hear it anymore. I am tired of this silliness. There have always been video games that had female protags, and even in games where they are not the protagonists, they often play very important roles. I'll give you Street Fighter. Just because Ryu is the hero of Street Fighter does not in any way demean Chun-Li, who's freaking known as and remembered as the first lady of fighting games. You know what demeans women in video games? Bad faith arguments made by women like Miss Virdi, and like Anita, Sarkeesian, and Zoe Quinn, and many, 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 many others. Because voices like mine don't get heard because their narrative is marketable, and while mine is rooted in truth, mine is not marketable, so mine gets relegated to a small YouTube channel. Right? And that's the truth of the matter. Now, with all, as I said here, with all due respect to Liana, I'd argue that Miss Virdi is making the same bad faith arguments Anita Sarkeesian makes. I do believe that nearly an hour I've been able to prove that Miss Virdi doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's simply using the same arguments Anita used. I am tired of you Anita types. You annoy me, you frustrate me, because you lie and you don't tell the truth. So can you please just go away? You've done enough to video games, Miss Virdi and Anita and others. You've done more than enough to video games to make it harder for women like me to exist in the space. You are the storm that wrecked everything, and now we're still dealing with the aftermath years later. So can you please stop? I have no issue talking about issues in video games, or issues with the way women are treated or depicted or whatever. But bad faith arguments don't allow for conversation. They create arguments. That does not help. Anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.